never let a crisis go to waste. That's what the Democrats are known for, and that's what they're doing right now. They're circling the political waters because they smell blood, and they're attacking President Trump at every single opportunity. But the issue here is that there are actual victims. If you claim to be for justice, you should have been talking about this when Joe Biden was president. You should have been demanding for the release of the Epstein files at the time. And by the way, many people on the right have been doing that this entire time. So those people aren't hypocrites, but the people on the left certainly are. In fact, they don't care about justice. They only care about this political persecution, and they are celebrating. They are actually happy about all of this, despite the fact that, like I just said, there are victims. People were hurt. People have died. Why would you say you're happy about any of this? Well, that's what they were saying over on CNN, and Scott Jennings called them out on all of it.
I'm just very satisfied by seeing him make such a huge unforced error.
I have to say, your use of the word delicious to start your comments, and then you're saying that you're very satisfied. But, we are talking about a situation here where young women were abused. This is a tragic case. Maxwell's in jail because she helped traffic the women. This is a very, very tragic case. I see Democrats and people on the left taking great political delight in this because they don't care one bit about the victims. They only started caring this about 5 minutes ago. They only started caring 5 minutes ago when it was a cudgel against Trump. So this kind of language where we just sort of laugh about the situation but forget the underlying issue, the victims here, to me, it's
so
beyond the pale.
What's your solution to?
As usual, Scott Jennings was spot on. But what the other commentator was saying, oh, they did the exact same thing on the right, the exact same thing, that is just absolutely false. Now, obviously, not everyone on the right side of the aisle has cared about this issue. For many people, it's a non-issue. Or if it is an issue, it's not their number one, right? It's really low down on the list. But no matter what you think of them, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Steve Bannon have been consistent about this, have been consistent about wanting justice over the last few years. So you don't see this sort of hypocrisy, this sort of political maneuvering happening on the right when it comes to this issue. And even Chris Cuomo, who is by no means MAGA, by no means even an establishment Republican, is calling Democrats out on this ridiculousness.
They had this information for a long time. I do not want to hear Bernie Sanders or AOC or Schumer or Jeffries or anybody on the left talking about Epstein because they're only doing it for one reason. And it's not because of this righteousness of accountability for people who victimize kids. I give the MAGA folks who want disclosure that high ground. Okay?
Now, what's really interesting is despite all of these defenses coming in from people like Chris Cuomo or people just circling the wagons, people in Washington, D.C. are beginning to change their tune. Even President Trump has appeared to do a 180 on the Wall Street Journal story. But before I get to that, let's turn to Speaker Mike Johnson, who clearly broke with the White House to say that this is not a hoax. This is him with Major Garrett.
And to the point, when the Trump Justice Department said there were more than 1,000 victims, for people who knew this case very, very well, did a lot of investigative work on it, that number surprised them. High number.
Yeah.
Meaning that, to their minds, investigative reporters and others, there have to be accomplices, uncharged accomplices, and that aspect of justice is still missing.
Yes, and it's of great concern to us. I mean, we want full transparency. We want everybody who is involved in any way with the Epstein evils, let's call it what it was, to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. We want the full weight of the law on their heads.
But when the Justice Department said in that same two-page memo, there's no reason to pursue further prosecutions, many said, how can those two things be properly aligned?
These are good questions. I don't know. I've never seen the Epstein evidence. It wasn't in my lane. But I have the same concern and question that a lot of people do. And look, I think the president
This is not a hoax, in other words.
Oh, it's not a hoax. Of course not.
So last week, President Trump called it a hoax. A lot of people tried to spin it and say President Trump was talking about the Wall Street Journal story. That may be true, but it's not actually in his words. You would basically have to be making an inference and reading in between the lines. We just don't have confirmation on that. But President Trump did reference this earlier today by bringing up Bill Clinton. Obviously, Bill Clinton's name has been associated with Jeffrey Epstein for quite a while. We do know that Clinton went to the island. But what really stands out to me is that President Trump has been trying to turn the page, trying to deflect, calling it a hoax, saying it's a non-issue, basically telling everyone to move past it, right? Just a few weeks ago, during that cabinet meeting where it was him and Pam Bondi, he was like, why are you guys still talking about this? Why even bring it up? He was very angry and basically said it's a non-story. But today, he was happily talking about Bill Clinton, and the timing for me is just really suspect because before President Trump left for Scotland, the Wall Street Journal released a new article, again, about that big leather binder of letters and revealed what supposedly Bill Clinton wrote in a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein. But before I show that, here's President Trump acknowledging it.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney, but you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to be speaking about Bill Clinton, who went to the island 28 times. I never went to the island.
Do you maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. All you have to do is take a look at the dossier, the fake dossier. Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people. Where did you see the people laying outside?
Right across your...
I just want to point out, for all the haters last week, for all the nasty comments, for all the people who put out there that I'm a paid troll or now being paid by the opposition or now have turned on Donald Trump, he basically just said the exact same theory I said last week. Last week, I said that I personally believe that this binder, again, my personal belief, I'm not telling you to believe this. I'm just saying with the evidence that is out in the open and using just logic, I believe that it is possible and probably likely that this binder is real. Now, whether or not it's legitimate, whether or not it's authenticated or authentic, it is a whole other story. But I put out this theory that, hey, maybe someone tampered with it. The rest of the pages are fine, and President Trump's is like, you know, someone in the Biden administration put it in, or maybe a secretary wrote it for him and he had no idea. Like, there are so many ways that this could have happened, and now President Trump's floating that exact same possibility. Just saying. Well, I also predicted that the Wall Street Journal was probably sitting on more information, that there was more coming down the pipeline, and I currently believe that there will still be more articles published after this one. But they wrote, Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book included letters from Bill Clinton, Leon Black, and they even published what they claim is Bill Clinton's letter written in his distinctive scrawl. It says, "It's reassuring, isn't it, to have lasted as long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and illegible word, and also to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends." Now, the reason I feel comfortable talking about that is because I talked about the previous article, the previous letter that the Wall Street Journal talked about last week. Already on X, I'm seeing the same people who were trying to discredit this letter, discredit the Wall Street Journal. They're all over X saying, oh, look at this letter from Bill Clinton. Literally the exact same accounts. I'm like, you might not agree with my reporting, you might not agree with my takes or my analysis or my commentary, but the last thing you can call me is a hypocrite, because I will hold the same standard for both sides, unlike the Democrats, as we saw earlier in this video. And the Wall Street Journal, by the way, this article wasn't even just about Bill Clinton. They name-dropped a ton of people, which also confirmed my previous theory as well, that they really must believe that whatever they have is authentic. Whether or not it is a different story, but if they believe it's authentic, if they've done their due diligence, if they've attempted to authenticate it in multiple ways with multiple credible sources, I really think that the defamation suit is going to fall flat, but that's a topic for another video. But they said that Clinton and Trump were listed under a friends group, and apparently there were multiple groups in this binder. Some categories, such as Science, Brooklyn, Family. Other names include Alan Greenberg, James Kane, Peter Mandelson. There are just so many. So they are now name dropping a ton of people. But what really has people talking is this mystery box that Ghislaine Maxwell was seen carrying back to prison after she met with the DOJ. But before I get to that, I would like to acknowledge Jenny Rankin, always good to see you, and Italian Gamer Joe, great to see you as well, as always, as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I am so glad for your support and thankful that you enjoy the videos. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell met yesterday with the DOJ. She was interviewed by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. And when she returned to prison, she was seen carrying what people describe as a box. To me, it looks like a box inside a bag or maybe like a laundry hamper. But a lot of people are speculating about what's in it. Why does she have it? I don't have any answers. But if anyone has information or any theories, feel free to leave that down in the comments below. Now, the reason this really stands out to a lot of people, the fact that she was interviewed by Trump's DOJ, is because apparently the DOJ has never previously, or any authorities really, have ever interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell. She was not part of that initial prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein himself. You would think that they would have interviewed her, right? You would have thought that they would have tried to squeeze whatever information they could out of her, but she could potentially be an untapped source of information. This is Jonathan Turley on Fox News.
The question is what she has. I was surprised in speaking with a member of the legal defense team a couple days ago when they said that reports that she had been previously interviewed by federal and state prosecutors, investigators, was not true.
What?
That she had never been interviewed. Yes, and despite all of these past investigations in this scandal, I was really taken aback by that. So if that's true, she could be an untapped source of new information. The question is, what is that information? Is it just salacious, or is it something more that would reveal criminal conduct?
I have no idea, but if she mysteriously dies or commits, unalives herself, I think we all know what's up. But as always, all of that is just my analysis and commentary. That is what's going on in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So Ghislaine Maxwell, do you think she actually has more information that isn't already in the files that investigators don't already know? Or do you think it would just basically confirm what they already have? Let me know your predictions on what she possibly knows down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.